Okay, here's another video about it's kind of clarifying some of the concepts people are struggling with a bit in the mechanics unit. So I'll go over doing some live typing. I'll go over independent and dependent clauses, which a few people have asked about. And I'll go over semicolons again and uh, inserting extra information between a pair of commas. So hopefully this will be good. Some people probably enjoy seeing a live typing exercise. In the discussions, I've also been writing up little summaries of these rules for various people in my replies to them. So you can nose through the discussions and find some of this same stuff written out if you prefer to learn by reading about the thing. But I think a lot of people will like seeing a live typing demonstration of this. So here we go. Okay, let me go over this idea. And this may be, confusing to people, but I just want to at least touch on what a dependent clause and an independent clause are. Let's start with this little chunk of language. While we were swimming in the motel pool, this would be a dependent clause. Why? Because it's depending on something that hasn't been added to it yet. And we can feel that, right? Like it feels like you feel that kind of question at the end of it, like what comes next, right? And it's all due to this first word, while. While we were swimming in the motel pool, something happened, right? But it's not there. So it's a clause and it has a subject and a verb and object, notice, but it's not independent, which means we could put a period on it and call it quits as a good sentence. And it's because of that word while. You see, this while poses a question for what's going to happen next. If the while wasn't there and we just had we were swimming in the motel pool, notice that is an independent clause. It is a complete sentence, bam, with its period. And it's a complete SVO. The subject is we, the verb is swimming, and the object is the pool. The pool is being, that's where the swimming is happening. We are doing the swimming. Swimming is the verb, SVO. So this is, as I say, complete sentence. It's an SVO, and it's an independent clause. But if we add this word while we were swimming in the motel pool, take away the period, this is now a dependent clause. It doesn't have something that it depends on to become complete. And that would be we need to add another independent clause to this dependent clause, and then the sentence will work. And I wrote this already, and I'll bring it up. Let me get rid of that sentence. Okay. While we were swimming in the motel pool, comma, the owner came out and told us the pool was closing for the day. So notice this, if it was on its own, this second clause, that works as a complete sentence. The owner came out and told us the pool was closing for the day. It's fine. We can connect this independent clause, this complete sentence, right? We can connect it to this dependent clause because this clause depends on this clause to make this complete. And notice now we have an answer to the question of while. While we were swimming in the motel pool, what happened while we were swimming? What happened was the owner came out and told us the pool was closing for the day. So I hope that makes it a little more clear as to how these clauses work. Something that people might be confused about is that this is considered one complete sentence now, but it does have two clauses in it. All right, let's look at this quite simple sentence. The dog ate my homework. SVO. The dog is the subject. The ate is the verb. My homework is the object. It's an independent clause because it works on its own as a sentence, and it is a complete sentence. Now, what is this thing I keep asking people to do? And probably half the class is having a hard time with this. So I hope this makes sense and helps people unpack the idea a bit. Putting in extra information with 2 commas goes like this. Let's slide in some extra info about this dog. The dog, comma, first comma, who I'd, or let me be really grammatical, whom I'd owned for 6 years ate my homework. There's that second comma. So this is the comma pair, and we're inserting extra information. Why is it called extra? Because it's not absolutely crucial for the original sentence, right? So I could delete it, delete the commas, and now we have that original basic sentence that still works on its own. The dog, comma, whose name was Alfred, ate my homework. Another extra information between 2 commas inserted there. So you see how this is different than a lot of people. When I ask them to use 2 commas, they're doing things like this. I ate apples, oranges, bananas, and frog's legs. So indeed, 2 commas are used here, but this is commas being used in a list of things that are being eaten, right? So that's very different from inserting extra information between 2 commas, information that is not necessary to the original simpler sentence. All right, let me pull up another example of inserting extra information between 2 commas. Nathan, an old friend I hadn't seen in about 10 years, arrived. Now notice this is a really big chunk of extra information inserted between 2 commas. And in fact, the simple version of the sentence is only this: Nathan arrived. So this comma pair with extra info can come in and can be quite large. Nathan, an old friend from college that I'd lost touch with and secretly despised, arrived. Okay? So that is the idea of inserting extra information with a comma pair. Nathan arrived. All right, and then this last one, I'm getting quite a few uses of semicolons that are following this pattern. Make that a little bigger. Why is this wrong? Do you know why it's wrong? Well, the first rule of semicolons is what? There has to be a complete SVO on each side. That's the idea of the scale that's balancing these 2 SVOs. So let me put it this way. If we take these 2 chunks that were separated by the semicolon, is the dog an SVO? No, it's just an S, right? It's just a subject. And then over here, if we have ate my homework, is that a complete SVO? No, it's actually just a V and an O. It has a verb and it has an object, something that's being eaten, but it doesn't have a subject. And in fact, this sentence is a good SVO if we'd never put that semicolon in there in the first place, right? It's a good, simple SVO complete sentence. The dog ate my homework. SVO. So if you just put in a semicolon here, that's really wrong, or like a semicolon here, say. These need to be balanced. Two SVOs balanced by the semicolon. And the test for that is this. Let me make two SVOs. The dog ate my homework. I got mad at the dog. Two SVOs, right? Let's try putting the semicolon there. Does this work? Yes, it does. Why? Because it passes all the tests. We have an SVO on this side, SVO. We have an SVO on this side, SVO. I, subject, got mad, verb, the dog, object. Okay? And it also passes the final test of semicolons, which is the subject matter has to be the same for both sentences. Like it has to be related. That's a better way of saying it. So again, I'm getting a few people now and then making this mistake. The dog ate my homework. Germany is a large country. The issue here is that grammatically this is correct because it's two SVOs balanced, but it breaks the final rule, which is not really a grammar rule. It's just a rule about making sense. And that's that neither of these two SVOs are about the same topic. They're in fact about completely different topics, right? And the reader would have no way to relate this thought about the dog with this thought about Germany. What is the relationship there? It's just not there, right? So let me work backwards. It took a long time to get between Berlin and Munich. Germany is a large country. Now this works, right? Two SVOs balanced by the semicolon, and they're both about Germany because these are two German cities. And if it's taking a long time to get between these two German cities, it's reasonable to expand on that by saying it's a large country. Okay? Let me see, was there one more thing I was going to talk about? I think that's good for now. I've probably talked us through enough ideas right there. So hopefully that helped. And read other posts and people's discussions, because I'm writing some of these same thoughts out in words, which some people might find easier to absorb these rules from reading words as opposed to hearing me talk about it. But hopefully some people get something out of us doing this kind of live typing thing, which I find kind of fun. Okay, bye.